one for the people who have, and one for the people who don't have. We're struggling with that. The President and I have been
pretty divided during the 1990s as well. Which is that period we've got to work with. I want to keep mentioning John again. John became president because he understands I have the right to and many people became picture of this one and he said, fine, so long as I don't have a big speech. So,
just before I was deciding, and she was in the hospital, she looked at it from the hospital, she said, remember, she left me. And my daughters and my wife are just a freaking like me. They can't be honest. They don't look at the president's place, because I said last time, I watched him in the first day of the Mario deal with his daughters. He's a great father. They're both very lucky.
This tax cut, the top 20% of taxpayers now pay 80% of all the taxes. When he came in, it was about 75%.
Prepared for that question.
Oh no, he was absolutely prepared for it. The president. What his answer was a great news. Exactly what to talk about. The president was in command right from the get-go, and he showed the difference. He showed America that he shares their values and priorities, showed he has a vision for the future that's positive and optimistic and realistic and practical. And Senator Kerry, he showed the difference between Senator Kerry's campaign rhetoric and his record, that he is a out-of-the-mainstream, left-wing liberal from Massachusetts who has a big spending, big government approach to everything. I thought one of the most revealing moments tonight was when the president absolutely pinned Senator Kerry. Senator Kerry's been going around this country for months saying, I want you to have the same health care that members of the United States Senate. And the president said, wait a minute. The federal government pays $7,700 on average for the health care of coverage of members of the United States Senate. There are 72 million families in America. If Senator Kerry is going to deliver on that promise, it would require $558 billion a year. And Senator Kerry immediately backed away.
Decisive victory for President Trump, and he is the candidate for this. Absolutely. Kerry was very angry.
Candidates' facts and gloves will affect their vote. Jim Acosta, CBS News, Tempe. Go back there.
And as we pursue the enemy, wherever it exists, we'll also spread freedom and liberty. We've got great faith in the
That you wish that had been asked, that wasn't asked, that you know that Senator Kerry was pretty passionate about, that he wanted to get that message across.
I wish someone had asked if the president agreed with his Treasury Secretary that the job loss.
Mitch Davis.
Hey,
we missed you last time. Can we get you for 2 minutes?
Sure, where are you?
Steve Santani. Steve is right over here.
Okay, come on, buddy.
Come on over.
Message he delivered loud and clear. It was a great night for Senator Kerry.
We got to like once again tell us how the debate went. What do you think?
I think in Senator Kerry you saw the next president of the United States. This was the trifecta, 3 for 3. Bush is 0-3, and if you count his years as president, he's 0 for 4 as well. This was a great night for Senator Kerry. He looked presidential. He sounded presidential. He delivered very crisply what he was going to do from a policy perspective, and most importantly, he said he was going to fight for the middle class, and that's what average citizens, I'm from Michigan, the governor of Michigan, and what we care about in Michigan is jobs, health care, making sure that the middle class does not continue to get squeezed. It was a great night for Senator Kerry.
So let me throw a softball at you. I assume you're going to argue your guy won.
I think certainly he did. I mean, this is 3 debates now where John Kerry has gone on the national stage, demonstrated himself to be the president, someone who can handle that office, the character, the strength, the capacity that Americans are looking for. I think he had some very good exchanges with the president on issues like the minimum wage, where there's a big difference, and where it's particularly important to working women. I think equal pay was also very important. I think immigration was another issue where John Kerry came out much stronger. I think that whole healthcare debate, where Kerry was able to talk about his healthcare plan and push back on this false attack that the president has leveled. So I think overall, talking about those issues as well as jobs, which we focused on, was a very good night for John Kerry.
You're a guy who focuses on the nuts and bolts of strategy. Tell me about the states and the issues that become the most important in the next 20 days.
Well, first of all, the focus on issues is very important to us. John Kerry is going to set out with a series of speeches all across his country. He's going to talk seriously about issues like how to get our economy working again, the details of his health care plan and why it makes more sense than the president's proposals. He's going to talk about energy independence in some more detail. We've got a country right now which is suffering with an energy crisis because of the policies of this president. So we're going to focus on those issues. We're going to talk about stem cell research, which is an emerging issue in this campaign. And we're going to talk about Iraq. I mean, there is a major difference between the policies of this president and John Kerry in terms of what's going on in Iraq and what should go on there. So those are the big issues I think we're going to focus on. And we're going to focus on big states too, places like Florida, Ohio, both states which were red states last time, where I believe right now John Kerry's ahead and is in a very strong position to take those back. We're going to look at those Midwest battlegrounds. I think our position in the Southwest is surprising, places like Colorado, which I think our opponents never expected to compete in. They're competing there right now. Nevada, where we're doing very, very well. New Mexico, where we won closely last time, and I think we'll have a close fight, but where we'll win again. So I see states in the Southwest where we're very competitive. Those big mega battlegrounds where I think we're in strong shape. And I think as we go into the end game here, we enter it in terms of the Electoral College very strongly positioned against the president.
If there's one issue you think that makes the biggest difference in the states where this election will be won and lost, what is it and how do you hit it?
It's the middle class squeeze. It's the fact that middle class families are being squeezed by the policies of this administration. It's job loss in Ohio, it's wage loss in Florida, but it's all part of one big issue, which is the way middle class families can no longer afford to keep up with the American dream. And that's what John Kerry's going to talk about. He's got specific plans on health care, on education, to cut the cost of living for people who are suffering right now from that squeeze. And I think that'll be our focus. George Bush has spent 4 years standing up for powerful interests. John Kerry wants to spend the next 4 years fighting for the middle class. That's the difference.
Do you expect this race to get uglier or prettier as we progress?
Well, listen, I know what we're going to do. We're going to talk about issues. And I also know that we're not going to sit here and take it from the president and the people around him. I mean, they've shown in the past a willingness to do almost anything. They did it to John McCain in the South Carolina primary. They've tried it at times in this contest as well. We'll correct the record as need be, but John Kerry is going to spend a lot of time talking about issues that people care deeply about. And we hope the president joins us. I don't know if he will, particularly after tonight. I think if you lose 3 debates, it's really hard to do anything except be very negative, and I think that's the outcome of tonight.
Finally, how big a shot do you have to be in order to have somebody follow you around with a sign with your name on it?
There's a lot of signs. You don't have to be such a big shot, let me tell you.
Thank you, Ted.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Good talking with you. Great.
And every answer with another little micro promise. And if you have a micro record, I guess I'd want to be talking about micro promises. But every little soundbite had one nice, neat little I will, da 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 da, and boom, and then the red light would go on. Well, that makes him a really good talker. But maybe, just maybe, tonight, in a turning point kind of way, Americans saw it. He doesn't have a record of doing it himself, and he's not very credible when he gets challenged on it.
Can I ask you a question about the style? Because you talked about it a few times, and you talked about how Kerry was a good talker. Well, if you're going to focus on style, or at least talk a lot about it, does that give it any credit?
On the global test issue, this is something that the president talks on the campaign trail. It's what he's talking about here. Kerry comes out and says, I do not have a global test. I do not believe I should go to other nations first and ask them before making national security decisions. So how does the president keep saying that he does believe that?
Because he hasn't disavowed the statement where he said, but we must pass a global test. John Kerry hasn't described that, hasn't explained it, hasn't clarified it any more than he has why he thinks the war on terror shouldn't be called a war, why he was for one thing and then against it. You know, there are a whole litany of things throughout this campaign, David, where John Kerry really has sort of smudged things over. I'd say that's a smudge.
The president has said that John Kerry would give other nations a veto. John Kerry said tonight, I will not give other nations a veto. So how do you say that if you say he believes that, if he says he doesn't believe that?
Because it's very clear. You can draw conclusions from a man's record and his statements, and John Kerry has a 30-year, not just 20 years in the Senate, but a 30-year history of paying homage at the altar of the UN. Now, the president has been respectful to the UN. The president has gone to the UN and worked with the UN and continues to. John Kerry has a fetish for it. Now, I think it's just very clear to most people who've studied this that John Kerry believes...
Going forward for the next 20 days here, what states and what issues are the most important for your guy?
Well, I can talk about what tonight's debate did for us in that strategy. Picking out states, I won't do that. I think we're on offense in states that Gore won more than we're on defense in states that we won, and I think we'll continue to build on that. I think tonight's debate helps us do that. We won. The president won clear and convincing. More importantly, I think really for the dynamic of the race, John Kerry lost. There was a turning point in the debate tonight when John Kerry stumbled. His knees buckled a bit when the president challenged him on the number of bills he's been able to pass. And he not only went on to reflect that lack of a record of accomplishment, he was less than credible. He went on to say there are 56 bills that have been passed that he authored. That's in effect what he said, and that is not what he has done in the Senate, and we're going to exploit that. So I think there's a twofer there. The twofer is John Kerry's lack of record and John Kerry's lack of credibility in describing that record. That was potentially a turning point for the next 19 days in the campaign.
And so if you had to pick an issue that will help decide this election in the states where the election will be decided, is it Senator Kerry's record?
Oh, well, I'd go back to strong leader. I mean, I think the fundamentals of this race have been in place for a while. We've all been turning this thing around and looking at it from a lot of different angles. The American people have studied each of these debates, watched them very closely. They've liked the way John Kerry talks his way through them. I think tonight, talk met reality. I think tonight, good sound bites with empty promises at the end have hit a brick wall. I think that brick wall was built and strengthened by John Kerry's failure to be credible when describing his own failure to pass bills into law and have any initiative that really shows the mark of a leader. So strong leader, that is the formula under which we began this race. It's the way we will end it, and it stands in stark contrast to John Kerry. He gave us a nice victory tonight. He handed us a little present, and he wrapped it up real neatly by saying that he had passed into law 56 bills with his name on it.
Tucker, before you're talking about...
But the point is this. The point is...
The dog has
take questions from dogs.
No, I don't take questions from dogs.
But it's a gay rights.
Or a hand puppet. Look, the point is this. When George Bush ran for president 4 years ago, and you know this because you covered the campaign, he was challenged by some candidates on the right who said you ought to pledge only to appoint justices to the Supreme Court who will pledge in advance to overturn Roe. The president rejected that standard. Instead, he adopted a 3-point standard. Number one, they have to be eminently qualified. Number two, they have to share his conservative judicial philosophy that judges interpret the law and don't legislate from the bench. And number president, who has a single-issue litmus test for appointing members of the federal bench. Either way. The other thing that's remarkable about John Kerry is, remember when he was flirting with John McCain? And he called John McCain twice and asked McCain to please consider being his running mate. The Kerry campaign has never disputed this. It's been reported. He said he had passed 56 bills or something passed by, so he exaggerated.
He was stunned.
He claimed, Arizona, frankly, it looks like they've largely given up. I mean, other than John Kerry coming here for this debate tonight, he's not spending a lot of time in Arizona right now. So it looks like, and I believe we're going to carry both up. Well, Nevada I consider more west than southwest, but I'm not overconfident. We're running hard. The president is going to be there coming out of here, isn't he? So yeah, we're working hard, and we're not taking anything for granted. And the president is running like he's behind and not ahead, and he's running like he's the challenger and not the incumbent, and we're going to keep doing that. You know, in politics, it's not a bad thing to be with
surplus to deficit. It's net loss of jobs in every state. Mr. Bush was in a very weak position, a rather indefensible one.
Now, they're both trying to reach the middle-class voter. That's obvious. Who do you think did the best job today?
I thought that Kerry didn't just try to reach the middle class, he tried to reach to the black, the brown, and the poor. And he spoke about minimum wage. That was not the middle. He spoke about talking to NAACP. That's good for those who've been locked out historically. He wants to secure Social Security. That's good for our grandparents. He wants to end the disgraceful war in Iraq and get us on a track of more multilateralism. And that's sound foreign policy.
Who would you say has won the debate?
Kerry has won the trifecta. He won all three debates. Tonight, he said to raise minimum wage for working people. Bush said it's about education, which is a diversion. Asked why we're exporting jobs, Bush said because of lack of education. We're exporting skills jobs, steel workers jobs, industrial jobs, coal miners jobs. These are the best workers in the world. They can compete with the foreign worker. They can compete with an uneven playing field. So I thought that Kerry's view and his judgment was sound in that regard. I thought Kerry reached out to NAACP, the Congressional Black Caucus, and to organize labor, expanding the tent. And that's the real American dream. One big tent for all of us included, and none are left behind.
What's your reaction to the
You know what? I saw it again.
I've never seen it.
Yes. What did he say? Said nothing about bulk purchasing of drugs by Medicare. Those are actually big issues to people. You know, they don't necessarily have the health care plan.
Kerry, I mean, I think routinely embellished, exaggerated, misled on the record, and 56 bills, I think, is a pretty big deal. I know you did.
You thought what?
I thought it was a draw.
I think it's the best performance Bush has given yet. I think Kerry succeeded in humanizing himself a little bit.